couple of months ago, I made a rather unpleasant discovery. It turns out that there's an invasive species gradually making its way north in Maine that is killing hemlock trees. Now, I have quite a few big old hemlocks on my land, especially right around my buildings. So I did an inspection recently and found that this invasive species had killed 3 of these hemlocks already. I'm not exactly sure when they died. I think it's been no more than a season, but it's not totally clear. And the longer I leave these trees up, the greater the chance is that they'll come down of their own accord, which of course would be potentially catastrophic for my buildings or my car. So I'm going to try to get them, all 3 of them, down this season while the wood is still solid and I can control the direction of the fall. Now, these are big trees. They're the biggest trees I've ever taken down. They are so big, in fact, that my 16-inch electric chainsaw is not going to be big enough to do the job. I'm going to have to rent a bigger and more powerful gas chainsaw to make some of these cuts. I'm going to go ahead and start with the hemlock that's behind me, the one that's near the bow roof shed. Cut the bark off around the base of the tree and then took a hand axe to the wood underneath it, and it seems pretty solid. It looks like pretty good wood there, so that has me feeling encouraged that the rest of the tree is going to be solid. I'll know a little more once I cut into it. Okay, the good news is it came down exactly where I wanted it, which is right between those 2 wood piles. I really thought I was going to bash that wood pile on the right and have to clean it up, but I actually nailed the location. Now the bad news is that I really fumbled the cutting job. The plunge cut was too low on this side, and then when I came over here to clean it up, you can see I cut off part of the hinge. So by the time I was ready to actually bring the tree down, I was feeling a little nervous that it was going to fall straight, but it did. I had enough of a hinge left. Thank God, the heart was going fast. The other thing I want to say is that gas chainsaw is just crazy powerful. It makes my electric chainsaw just feel like a toy. Next up is the big hemlock that's on the right-hand side of my driveway as you come down it. Now this tree is just enormous. It is at least twice as big as the other 2 hemlocks I have to bring down that are dead. I used an online calculator to calculate the weight of this tree, and it came in at an estimated 3,335 pounds. I mean, it's just a monster. Try to imagine having to control that much weight and get it to come down where you want it to. So it's got my attention. I'm going to be very careful and take my time and use all the recommended tree felling techniques to get it to go where I want it to go. And I had to clear out a couple trees that are in the fell direction. I'm going to take it down across my driveway and across the road. And it's there's still some branches in the way, but I think if I get the fell direction just perfect, it'll make it through those branches and onto the ground. I know some people love thrill seeking, jumping out of airplanes and stuff. You know, I've done that before, but I can tell you after living out here for last 3 years that I do not need any extra thrills than the ones that are already provided in just the regular work that I do. So from the moment that first cut on that giant tree until it finally came down, I was, you know, it was intense. I was a little bit afraid. I was excited. And when it came down, I was just so satisfied. So you can see here that I absolutely nailed the direction. Came right down between those other trees and didn't knock them down. And if you look at my handiwork here on the stump, you can see it's pretty good. You know, I got the hinge right and the ratio between the front and the back's right, and the hinge width is pretty good. The only mistake I made is, you can see right here, I actually cut into the hinge from the back side. That was when I was coming in this way trying to like clean up the back, and it's just so hard to keep every single thing in mind when you're wrestling with a chainsaw trying to get the thing you want. It's really takes a lot of presence to be able to keep everything perfect. So that one mistake was small enough and it didn't cost me. And now it's down and the hard part and then super dangerous part's over. Now I just have to methodically cut it up. The last dead hemlock I have to bring down is on the other side of my driveway, opposite the big giant one I just brought down. It's not nearly as big, but it's still plenty big enough to be dangerous, and I'm pretty tired after several days of doing all this work on these trees. So I'm trying to be mindful, to go slow and be careful and be deliberate, because I think when you're tired or when you're rushing, that's when you make mistakes where you could really get hurt doing this kind of work. So the direction of this fell is going to be basically the same as the other one. Now that I've got the other bigger hemlock out of the way, there's a nice big opening. I should be able to drop it across my driveway and across the road, pretty much the same location as I did the previous tree. With the third tree down, the most dangerous part of this project is now over. However, I can tell you that is not where the most work is. Even though bringing these trees down is fairly dangerous and stressful, the real work is in the cleanup. I burn a ton of calories cutting up all those branches and moving them around. Let's have a look at the stump to see how I did on this one. I'm actually really pleased with this. This came out just about perfect. You can see the hinge here. The ratio between where I cut in the front and the back is just about right. It should be about 20 to 30% in the front and the rest back here. The hinge is nice and even all the way across, and it's just about the right width given the total width of the tree. So I'm also going to claim a little victory here in that I actually got better at this brand new cutting technique as I went from tree to tree to tree.